Okay, so
Unfortunately, I have to listen to your voice.
now you slam. We've got we are doing an audio call, which is a first time thing. So we've got online, we've got LCFR, we've got Terse, we've got Steve. Actually, LCFR, you're in masterclass right now?
Yes.
Terse is in Trader's End.
For now, I'm with Master.
I am, actually.
And Steve is of masterclass as well. So I'm trying to, is it Steve533?
Yeah, I think it's 533.
533. Okay, I knew there was 2 3s in there. All right, so we're doing an audio.
553.
Oh, okay. All right, and obviously we're gonna pull up just to show for lodge wise as far as masterclass. Number 1 lodge, number 1 event lodge, number 1 ladder lodge. We've got Terse and LCFR are 2 of the tournament organizers for the World Cup tournament, which we are doing qualifiers currently for several of the countries that need qualifiers, and we kind of wanted to talk about what the World Cup is, kind of discuss the details of that, how that's going to be going on, who's participating, all the fun stuff about it. And then also just kind of discuss in general how it's progressed, how the qualifiers are progressing, how the ladder's working for following the Orphans of War release, which are just 7 days into it. So, with that being said, let me pull up my notes here. Hang on, I'm shifting between like my phone and my wireless keyboard and my tablet. Okay, so who wants to tell me what the World Cup is for those who don't know?
I can do
Will
that.
you start?
Or,
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, Terse?
No, you can go first.
The World Cup tournament was the brainchild of Orthanol, who's a very cool, nice, active Discord user. He shares a lot of decks. Great guy, good player. And he wanted to do a tournament that was basically as broad and all-encompassing as it could be. And so he said, well, why don't we do something like the World Cup? And I said, cool. Yeah, let's do it. So I helped him just get the rules doc in order and everything. And then we set up a separate server for all the entries. And basically it's really just a replica of like football or soccer, however you may call it, their World Cup system. So
Football.
Every team, yeah, football. Pardon me, Steve. But yeah, so people were free to register or create a country to sign up for, and then once that country had enough people to register, they'd create an official team and they'll start figuring out the decks from there. I don't know how in depth you want me to get into like the ins and outs of the tournament, but
Well, is it
yeah.
for what? Because we're doing qualifiers right now, but I mean, based off of all the teams that are registered, how many teams do we have?
Oh, I actually had to count that. So we have Australia, we have Belarusia, we have Canada, we have a combined team of Finland and Denmark, we have France, Germany, Greece, New Zealand, Mexico, Bolivia, Poland, Russia. We have an African team with South Africa and Egypt. We have Spain, Sweden, England, Ukraine, the United States. Then we have a very weird team of Portugal, Romania, and Slovakia. And Scotland, Hong Kong, Italia, Ireland, Indonesia, and Argentina.
Wow.
I think that's pretty much all of them, yeah.
Nice. That's pretty. Yeah, that's I think just all of the continents with people on them. I don't think we're gonna have any Antarctic scientists playing, but that's pretty awesome.
You don't know that.
There could be somebody playing with penguins.
Well, we had probably some more teams, but there were only 2 players who registered, and
They couldn't get
they
enough.
couldn't form a whole team. We have 3 players per team, and some people joined late, and the qualifier already started. So, when you start a tournament for the first time, people come late to the party, or some things get messed up, and But there will be another one, I believe, maybe in a year or earlier. We don't know how it works.
Mostly it just depends on, availability and interest, right? Like, it's possible to run them more, but they do take a lot of time and energy to run.
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of time for the people playing them. And honestly, like, it's you could have, even if you had more running, I find some of these tournaments go on for so long, which is a good thing. It's cool. But if you're juggling too many, people tend to drop out, or it becomes harder to, like, make your deadlines, and then it goes from being kind of fun to kind of stressful.
Yeah. Well, and to top it off with the way with it being teams from different countries and different parts of the world, with some of the tournaments, you've got some, like, you might have one player that's hard to coincide with because of the time zone difference, but now you've got two teams that could be really difficult to coincide all three of their players.
I think that was the issue with Lodge Wars towards the end when you start getting people.
Yeah, and there was like you get all the way down to like the last day before somebody could get their schedule in line to get their game in.
Yeah, it's always a huge problem. Like, most people have time for tournaments on the weekend, especially if there's like 10 hours between them. So it's rough sometimes, but somehow till now, most of the time the matches have been done, and it wasn't such a big problem. It's like more players responding and agreeing to dates than actually playing the game when they agreed to something.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing is too, if we get it all, if the players agree to it ahead of time, they know who they're paired up against. They do have that week to get it in, but yeah, it's a big enough play group where, I mean, it's going to be lengthy, so that time commitment can be something that just through natural attrition is going to wear on people. But that's part of the fun, I think.
I think towards the end it gets easier because you may have semi-casual players who want to play, and then obviously you get the, in brackets, hardcore players, but it always whittles down to, I would say, top 50, 60 people, which would be in the ladder anyway, which are always on, so it's easier to get your matches. I think it's harder at the start, and then you kind of get like plateauing and halfway through where it's hard to organise matches. Then normally you end up with the top players, so to speak, who all end up killing each other anyway. So yeah, I think it just makes it easier towards the end, organising matches.
Well, yeah, and if they're all, like you said, like if they're all online, anyways,
yeah, exactly.
it's going to be they're already there to play.
Yeah.
But I think it's not only the top 100, also players with like lower ladder rankings, like early Terra. They are looking forward to play some of those guys they see on YouTube, and if they see LCFR playing or streaming and they want to face him, and they won't reach him except for the beginning of the new season, and now they have a chance and can show off and maybe beat him in a best of 3. Like, it's cool to upset like established players.
It's cool to be upset.
You've got a target on your back.
Pleasure is pain, pain is pleasure.
Well, we had in Lodge Wars with SP Masterclass, and we got knocked out by him. And they're happy as Larry, and fair play to him. It's what it's about. At the end of the day, best person on the day wins.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things about the way the Lodge Wars was too, because there are, there's some players that are in lodges that are strong ladder players, but the rest of the lodge may not necessarily be. But when they comprise a team, they can be pretty good. I know Adeptus Astartes ran pretty solid, I think, on several of the Lodge Wars tournaments, too. They've got some good players. Did they win?
They won the second Lodge Wars.
Okay, I can't remember who won.
Iron Duke beat me in the finals.
Who?
I don't want to talk about it.
Was it Malkador's Chosen won the third one then?
No, Master Debaters.
Oh, Master Debaters. Okay, all right, okay. I just know that we've come in third for the last 2, and that's consistently third place.
I know what that's like.
But yeah, there's good players out there. So yeah, it'll be nice to see what these teams are, and then because they're regionalized, that breaks up the way they form a team differently than just working with the players in your lodge. Now you're working with other players that you may not normally interact with. So
yeah, it's a cool way to do some deck building, even if you're not normally a deck builder either.
mm-hmm.
Just a cool way to experience the game. It's almost like a funky different game mode, and only against humans, so it makes every match pretty good.
So now
and I'm actually super surprised that like some countries you don't expect to have very very good players. Like you expect Russia, you expect Spain, you expect the USA, but there are also some teams like Hong Kong is like an underdog, but they have pretty good players on their team. And like I give Canada some outside chances. Like I have heard there's one good player on their team, but I don't know who it is. So
watch out. Team Canada's pretty good, actually.
The maple syrup will run.
Oh yeah,
like on
blood.
I still, to be honest, I still think Russia, that talent pool, which is going to be interesting to see them killing each other off for places.
Yeah,
they've got
that Russian qualifier. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So many awesome players in that tournament.
And there's
I wish I could watch all the matches.
The Russian qualifier.
I heard, Kane is streaming some of them. So
yeah, I'll get to see Kane's.
And then the format, for those who don't know, the format is going to be Conquest format, which is kind of like an evolved best 2 out of 3, 2 warlords, not from the same faction, but then within the scope of the team, are we going to be keeping the same thing where basically you're going to have 6 warlords, none of them from the same faction?
Yes.
Okay.
That will be in the World Cup. In the actual World Cup, it will be 6 different factions per team.
So which kind of eliminates sometimes when there's like a strong singular faction, AKA like one of these new guys. Let's just say the Orphans of War. I don't know really how strong they are, to be honest with you, but I'm just using them as an example. Thousand Suns. There you go.
Magnus last month.
That's it. Magnus is going to be the 1,000 Sun representative. You're not going to get a Magnus and a Phosis and an Amon all on the same team.
No, we would play 6 Magnus. We would play 6 Magnus or 3 Magnus and 3 Cannons because we would be there to win.
Ugh,
okay.
Yeah, that's how it would go.
But that's why that rule is so good, because it does, whether you want to or not, whatever kind of player you are, whatever your style is, you can just, you're like, well, I have to pick 2,
mm-hmm.
and my teammates have to pick 2, and the other teammate has to pick 2 as well. So we can't just all ride Magnus to Dorn.
And it's great too because
that makes it a much more interesting tournament.
Yeah, and if somebody doesn't have that warlord, and then you've got a team of 3 guys, and between them they're missing 2 really good warlords, they've got to work together to kind of see, okay, who can fill this gap. I've got this guy. Can you use something else? And it's sometimes just between picking warlords for the team kind of becomes a good strategy.
Yeah, especially with like players with not a complete collection, they will have to struggle. Like if you don't have Curse, if you don't have Magnus, and maybe some others, it will be very interesting to see which warlords they will take to the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Like
a place for 30 health warlords.
Mortarion or something like that. Russ.
To be honest, it's kind of terrifying me because, well, when we start getting onto like the meta or so, well, I don't think there is one. I think it's non-existent. I think you come across everything and anything now.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think there is a meta. So
you have to take all comers.
Yeah, exactly.
The most solid play is really what's going to win it. It's not just one down. It's come so far from when Raven Guard came out, and it was just, they stealthed. They've got stealth. They've got more Dathan down. I don't have enough anti-stealth. They dropped their speeders before I could get my sentence combo out. And now stealth is like it's one thing in a bag of things to really worry about.
Have a glory days of a Raven Guard.
I'm glad the Korik's got his whispers back, though.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. Like, I played Korik's so much when he came out, and it was like my favorite warlord, and he kinda still is. And I think he's more fun to play now. and his chances for ladder are pretty well, I would say. Like, if you look at the Orphans of War, well, I haven't really faced them on ladder till now, and but in the event, obviously, their stealth is like the most annoying part of them, I have the feeling.
I've come across a few, and I faced one of them in my qualifiers. I haven't really played that much with the faction, the new Orphans of War, but I think they're very balanced, and I think Everguild have balanced this release very well. But I think going to Raven Guard, they're still missing something. I think with the next nerfs, they went too far with it.
Between Nex and Mordathan jumping his price up.
I was the biggest Raven Guard player, and me and LCFR have this argument all the time, bring back the glory days of, Fulgrim and Korax. But when they killed off Nex, or they've Raven Guarders were fast, and they also had the stealth, and they also had a top end finisher. Now they don't have a finisher, even if you set it up with an Umbra, but that's turn 8.
Yep.
You drop 5 energy for 2 damage, and he still can't do it.
They had awesome and they had awesome and fair reach.
Yeah, and you had obviously the fast attack aspect now. You get that from Mechanicum troops. There's no speciality bar the stealth, but there's so much stealth removal now. They don't really have any troops down anyway. It's just, I don't know, they're just missing something top end. They're missing a finisher. Most of the factions have some sort of finisher, which you don't need to set up. And even when you do set him up, he's still no better than what the Raven is.
Yeah, the best that they could deal with as far as a finisher is the combo, right? The hidden run with Dark Fury, and that's still kind of a 2-turn going to.
Even with it's okay with Umbra, but it's just not as much reach as Nex. Nex gave you like 9, 10, Nex gave you like a 15 damage reach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like a Dark Fury can do 8. Or with Korax 10, like that 5 damage. That's a lot of damage. That was almost as solid a finisher sometimes for him as like repeat Pride of the Emperor was for Fulgrim.
Yeah.
Like that was a reliable finisher.
And I doubt Next ability. Like if you can put Sentence 2 each turn on them and stack it like to whatever region, you don't need it. Like Sentence 2 was good, and you don't need or want Sentence 4 or Sentence 6 on the enemy or Warlord. It's like you won the game already at that point.
Yeah.
I just want to do my damage and move on.
Yeah. But the thing is, with him now, he's just, if you want to play him in a fast attack role, you need to use a number. So that's 5 energy card for 2 damage wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get him in a fast attack. Now, every other faction, Pride of the Emperor, Vengeful Spirit, Raven, most factions have an instant drop. Now, if you drop Nex at turn 9, he's just going to stay around and probably get removed and killed off anyway. It's just, for a legendary card, it's a very poor card, considering what he used to do and how you need to now set him up with a combo to be beneficial in any way.
Yeah, whereas the opposite is that, because it just plays into how the Raven Guard play, and then they took that feature out. I think with several of the changes, like you don't ever see Nev anymore, for the simple fact that every card that he utilized.
That's even more ancient history.
Yes.
Korax got played for a long time still. Korax got played for quite a while still, at least. But Nev, yeah.
I mean, really every tool that he used was like, nope, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone.
Nev was crazy and it was such a small card pool at the time. Like you had like 7 legions, 6, 7 legions, maybe 8.
Yeah.
It was a really small card pool, and what was playable at the time was much smaller as well. And he was nuts.
Oh man,
You
to
know,
get that
like-
Fury from Above off with Sentence 3.
That was- I remember those days. It was brutal.
Good times.
I don't know what the answer is for what would make him good again, but like those days were brutal.
Yeah.
I doubt having him at high initiative right now would be as backbreaking as it was back then.
No.
Just like like Fulgrim and Horus got high initiative back, Sky did not fall. And even playing them, like it's not quite the same.
You know what? I think whatever guild needs to do is take a look at the faction bonuses. You know, obviously sentence. Every time you DOS someone with sentence, it uses energy, and in this meta, you can't afford to be sat there stacking up sentence. But then you get something like Space Wolves, which has pack, which gets it for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think Death Guard, it should be poison, and they need to completely revisit the poison mechanic. I think it should stun and then remove the following turn.
But can you imagine just some, never mind a rework, but like, can you just imagine like a Plague Marine with poison, like just giving some of the more high toughness troops poison? As soon as you know that your opponent's got to trade a troop, even a decent one, to have to take down one of yours, and it's going to die from poison. I don't care if you have Survivor or whatever. That's when it starts getting cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like that's
agree
when
with
it
you.
starts like
Like
it
poison
gets cool
is lackluster at the moment, and so are some old factions a bit. I think Everguild is doing a good thing at the moment. Like they rework warlords periodically, and I think they have done it really good so far. But the new legions have like so much more play on the ladder, and yeah.
I haven't seen too many Ultramarines yet. I faced a Gilliman in one of the qualifiers for the U.S. game. That was a fun game, and that kind of came down. I mean, his ability to those tactics of the Ultramarines really can swing things. But I haven't seen too many of them on ladder yet. Although I am starting to see a little bit more word bearers.
Well, I talked with Agrash about Guliman, and we came to the conclusion that he needs a lot of cards. That's a major problem for him. Like, you need the complete Ultramarine collection, most of the legendaries, and he is good, but he is not very fast. So for ladder, when people play or want to play games for 5 minutes, Guliman takes 10 minutes, sometimes even longer for a game.
That was a thing in the event for sure.
Can I start ranting yet? Am I allowed to rant?
No.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Always.
When is someone gonna deal with World Eaters? It just drives me insane. Every time you come across an Angron, if you don't go first, it's just a massive aggro fest. And what I liked about when Magnus was top of the ladder, you didn't see too many of them, but you could always have a decent game. But when you come across, it's either an Erlen, which is just there pinging you, and there's nothing you can do because turn 8, you're going to have a conquest to wipe everything off the board. Same as an Angron. You basically need to have 2 key cards every time you face them, which is either a healer at some point,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to have what's the name of the card now? Edict. You need to have them cards when you face them, otherwise by turn 10 it's game over anyway. And there's nothing at the moment because they've slowed Magnus down without the repeat ank. They're just coming more prevalent, and I can't believe, as from the numerous reports every month that come out, that they're in the top whatever, how they still haven't been looked at, because 3 ping damage for 2 energy is ridiculous. And I've asked Everguild this every Q&A, if you're playing Space Wolves, why does it still work through Ward on your Warlord? And it was, because it targets. Well, stop it targeting. It shouldn't work in stealth, and it certainly shouldn't work during Ward to give players a chance against them, because as soon as they start going first, it's just a downhill game. And
I absolutely agree with you, especially if you can compare to Korax. Like, Korax does 1 damage per ping, and versus an Erlen who might go first, it's like Erlen won't play any troops, just spams tactic after tactic, and you can't use your wallet ability at all with Korax.
No, you'll fall behind way too quick.
Yeah. You need a Raven's Claw, or how's the name of the card?
Raven's Talon, right?
Sneak attack, yeah, Talon, right. Like,
Talon.
You need it absolutely in the first 3-4 turns, or you have a real problem with Korax.
Yeah, it's just, everybody knows World Eaters are supposed to be an aggro deck, and I completely understand that. That's the whole mechanic of them. But when you've got, for 5 energy, you're getting smashed in the face for 7, then turn back to 7 energy, that's 10 damage. That's 10 damage. That's bigger in 1 hit than any Fatal by Vengeful, Pride of the Emperor.
It's the ability to create a massive difference in the health.
Yes.
In between your health differences in short, fast bursts.
Yeah.
So that's, and at very early turns, so that suddenly when you're 15 health behind, or when they have a reach of, cards 4 plus random ping plus, there's a land speeder, for example.
Right.
It's hard to even get to within a salvageable life total.
And there's been those games.
They are sometimes this high roll faction, like you're rolling the dice in certain respects because you don't pick up the high damage cards, or they're able to keep up with you, for example. You do wind down, but yeah.
I just remember a game I
dig
had
the
with you,
frustration.
like in Lodge Wars, where you played Angron and got the X4 in turn 3. Like,
Oh, me?
you.
Yeah, I did that too.
That was horrible. It was like a
did that to you.
nightmare.
That felt good.
Yeah.
But the thing that annoys me is even when somebody starts closing up that gap, turn 8 what's coming.
Yep.
It's always.
Yep.
I wish I had this luck with card. Every one of them has a call ready to rock and roll. I genuinely.
You're haunted.
Yeah.
You've angered the gods, Steve.
That's
I test this faction with a passion of the people who play it. Now, I was knocking around with a can, and I just thought it was disgusting last season. LCFR, you see the can deck which I put in, and it was just, you were finishing people in turn 3.
Yeah.
It was just vile. It was just vile.
Yeah. Well, Karn does what he does.
He's pretty nasty. What the one thing I liked about the orphans though, they've got that red talon that ups the cost. I mean, so you can, if you hold on to that, play that like late game when they've got 8 energy coming, and then they can't play their Conqueror or their Harrowing, and you've got troops on board. So, but that's one faction. That's a new faction card. The only other comparable. Yeah, the only other comparable is the Salamander's Orbital Combat, but then you've got to be playing Salamanders.
Yeah, you have the neutral, the Hydra.
But
learning a Hydra? Yeah. Or
but it's still
Yeah,
just a low cost, basically, smash to the face.
Yes.
It's versatile. You can wipe out somebody's board of that, or you can, he's I don't have the Conqueror. Oh, right, well, what I can do is have my 1 Goldstone Hunter, add a sweep in advance. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll chuck another one on for the crack. Someone's face, and then, you know what, I'll ping him for another 3. There we go, happy days. There's so many.
Steve, you should keep a running tally of how often you get Goldstone and sweeping advance for lethal.
I'll be
that's
retiring.
that's how they finish.
It's just, and because there's only 1 card, Edict, and I don't know, it's so boring because you can almost, it's not almost, you can predict every card. It's an abandoned supply followed into something else turn 3.
My issue is really is mostly just that I do have some similar issues about them, and then they're all so popular.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's like to play, play what you want to play to have fun, play the warlords that appeal to you. But some warlords like in Abundance do become this frustrating experience where I'm like, I know, here comes the mortar strike. Okay, yep. I'm 15 damage behind. Here we go.
And a huge issue is always like World Eaters are one of the first legions. Like many people have the whole collection, and Angron was in shop, and like all the main cards they use, they have been in shop like 10 times already. Like everyone has this Angron deck. It's nothing new.
Right, yeah.
Everybody can build it. Like, even playing for like 2 months, they can't, but everyone else has that deck. And you know it.
But it's, like I said, season starts, it's like the fighting pit on the Conqueror. Literally, you just come across them every second, it's like, oh God, not again. And then when you finally, obviously, the ladder starts balancing itself out and everything, then you just come across these random ones and they just smash you, and it's just, give me a break, I've just lost, I'm getting 5 points per match or whatever at this point, and I've just lost 25 to someone just spamming exactly the same hand. And it's just, and there's nothing you can physically do bar to pray you find Edict, or you get an Ezra down to give you a couple of heals during it. It's just madness.
What do you play to get through the flagship? What do you use to get through the deck of the World Eaters? You have to fight your way through. What do you do? Do you become a World Eater, or do you do something else?
I would.
I'm not. I don't want to be an Emperor's Children on the deck of the Conqueror. I'll tell you right now. I don't want to be there. So I'm not doing that.
It's hard.
I'm getting out of this pickle.
It's hard with Saul though. This month, Yiria the Seducer, like early on, like turn 4, turn 5, that buys me a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I've been on a 2-week break, you see, so I'm kind of, I think I'm about 170, 180 out of the top 50 at the moment. But I'm just I'm just grinding away with Space Wolves at the moment. But there is no meta. It's just such a vast array. But then when you come across these warriors, it's just nothing you can do. I can guarantee it. I'm using Greybeard, and there's nothing I can do.
It's very frustrating as well. Like if you play Nassau or something else, which interacts with the board.
Right.
Like, what are you interacting versus World Eaters? Like, there's nothing. They don't play troops, and if they play troops, they are dead.
Mm-hmm.
The moment they play them, because they are all fast.
Yeah.
Maybe you are lucky, and they have something like get a mark of chaos on them, and they get first strike, and you can do something. But
you've still taken 4 damage and have to deal with the first striking berserker.
Yeah.
Your life is rough, right? Like, yeah. Oh, World Eaters.
Love them.
It's a strong faction. It's just they've been, like I said, like they're a launch faction. They've been out for the duration of the game. I think the problem is, and it's not really a problem because that's half the game is building around the warlord, but they're so focused on what the warlord does that drives how you play the World Eaters.
Yeah, and they're all very high damage.
Mm-hmm.
They do high burst damage, they do it early, they create a big difference in your health totals, and once you're that behind,
Except for Dar.
It's hard to take advantage, right? Because, you don't really build your deck just to fight one warlord off. One crazy aggressive warlord.
But, I never used to, as I said, with Raven Guard when I used to play, because obviously, we used to be a lad called Maple in Masterclass, and he used to play Angron, and we had some really good matches, and that was when Armour of Mars was pingable, but you still knew you had a 15 damage potential with Nex, so you had something to, I just can't seem to get ahead of them. It's just, unless you're stunning constantly, obviously if you're playing Alpha Legion you have no soul anyway, so, but they're just so, well, no, I wouldn't say oppressive, it's just so much damage coming out of him, and there's no way to keep up. But with Magnus, he used to be able to do it with the constant anks and obviously the psychic thing and different shielding, and even getting his whispers and stuff like that. But any other person, you have to try and build a board against them, but you're never going to build a board quick enough by the time that Conqueror drops.
No, I think the healing potential in the Ultramarines might help to some degree, but it still is contingent on a board with their apothecary, and even was it the command squad, the Igenius command squad. But you're paying to heal 2 instead of doing 4, and they're still going to do like 7 or 18. It's a hard game.
Like, it would be really, really good if Conqueror wouldn't destroy troops but kills them, and so Survivor could trigger or something like that. That might help, like, especially for legions like Orphans of War or Ultramarines or Salamanders, obviously. Like, that could help in some degree, I believe.
Just make it 10 energy. Just make it 10 energy for him.
Ooh, that'd be brutal. I mean, it's same effect, but the 2 extra turns, yeah. Although they did it to Harrowing, right?
Harrowing is now 9,
They
and
upped
it was
it.
8.
It was 8, and they upped it to 9, and it made a huge difference. I'll tell you.
But
especially like you played Hydra first. Like, everyone took Hydra in that moment when, like, Alpha was popular, and it was
a good counter.
11 cost, and then it was, he couldn't play it.
Yep.
It was good.
That was a really good counter. Learning Hydra's had some great moments out there.
They're still not bad. I run them in the Ornithop.
Yeah, no, they're not bad at all.
Just remember, Shield Generator is like, maybe we should play it more.
Shield Generator is annoying as hell.
It is.
Yeah, I had it in a few more decks, but with Melgator being changed to balance it, it's a Melgator target. It's still good, but if they don't have him out yet, you might just get it bounced, and then they can still play their tactics with cheap. Oh, Shield Gen. So getting back to, I got a couple questions left for the World Cup. Now this is going to be single elimination. There's not going to be a losers bracket, right? Or is there?
For the World Cup?
Yeah, for the World Cup. Yeah.
No, it's going to be single elimination.
Okay, all right. 'Cause, I mean,
the way it will work is it's going to go through a group stage. So let's say, for example, let's just assume we've got 16 teams. We'll do 4 groups of 4, and in each group of 4, they'll go through Swiss. So they'll all face each other.
oh, okay.
They'll score points based on the wins or ties, if it were. And then the 2 teams with the highest points in the group will advance to the single elimination stage.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so every single elimination round at that point, it will be for all the marbles.
Well, and that's cool too, because in the first round, really, even though it's not yet into because you're doing round robin, that first bracket, everybody gets more games in.
That's it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, so has pricing been confirmed officially, or we're still working on like?
Yep. We've got. It's for the winning team. It's 3,000 gold per member and a legendary of choice per member, I believe.
I believe so. And a secret.
Oh, and a secret.
As far as we know.
Oh. Yeah, there's the possibility for some extra prize support, because it has had a pretty big turnout.
Okay.
Big turnout.
Maybe
there's like over 80. There's like at least 70 people signed up for it.
There should be like a cosmetic, you know. I mean, shit. There's enough of them in the game, you know.
That would be lovely.
I just want to play Rule Britannia as a voice chat.
The glory days are over, bud.
Never.
Now the
Commonwealth is rising up this time.
So there's we've got Russia team, we've got the Spanish team. Now they both have their own Discord within their own community. Is there is there like a representative for their community, like just to kind of get the word out, or is it being hyped in the same way that it is in the English Discord, or I mean, is there any representatives or ambassadors in the I don't want to say either in the TOs or not?
I don't
No.
think too much in terms of like a massive major group effort. Like their Discord is a little bit more just like logistical.
No, okay.
And a lot of those conversations happen in private. It's like the news has been shared about the sign up. Even some guys I know, like, there's interest, and then it's just a question of whether they have the time to commit to it or not. They had a pretty decent turnout.
Yeah, because I mean, once it gets started,
like they ran through a qualifier tournament of at least 8 people, I believe.
Nice.
Again, like obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but the biggest qualifier tournament was the Russian tournament. That must have been. That was definitely over 16 people qualifying for that. And that was a serious clash of the titans.
Yeah,
it's still going on right now.
Well, and then once it whittles down, then it's just 3 of them. So I mean, then at that point,
it'll just go down to a team of 3 of them, and those 3 guys will or gals will firm up what warlords are going to be playing for the World Cup proper.
For me, on a personal note, I think it's great that Russians are actually getting involved, because I know they used to have their own massive Discord community at the beginning of the game, and it's kind of, they're now starting to come across into the main Horus Heresy Legion's Discord as well, and I think it's great that's starting to happen. We've had Cyphers Kane in Masterclass from the very start, and he was the only real person I knew. Obviously saw some great names on the ladder, but now you're starting to see him more in chat, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it was always nice because, for the longest time you'd see the Russian name lodges, which I'm not familiar with Russian character, but or you run across a player who's got Russian characters in the name, like I don't have any chance to have any sort of exchange with them, so you're starting to see a few more make appearances or chat up, and that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think Cyphers is the only regularly Twitch streamer, I believe. Like, he's the only guy who, like, daily streams Horus Heresy Legions. Or am I wrong?
I think he's been playing it for a while. I don't know. Is it Pyrus? Is that him, or is that another somebody? Pyrus?
Pyrus?
No, Pyrus.
Pyrrhus of Ebereth?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think he's a UK player.
Oh,
He's
okay.
in UK team. He's in Wall of Guns at the moment. But no, it's I know Kane. He used to do his Big Red, as we call him in the lodge. He does all his videos, and he's always showing his content and everything. So no, I think he's one of the big main players in the Russian community, and always has been.
Well, and I know even when some of the first Q&As, that was one thing that Everguild shared was, the Russian player base is pretty big, and sometimes you forget that it's global wise. There's a diverse player population, so to know that there's a big chunk of players out there that we're not interacting with, it was kind of like, okay, what's going on over there? What are they talking about? What are they playing? I mean, you run into them, but is that a representative of the collective, or is that just kind of a couple of the guys?
Nice. All I know is they've got some great players.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Good players. And they just seem to come out of nowhere as well. It's just, I know Kane, he's more of a winter player. He's quiet during the summer, but when winter hits, off he goes, kind of thing.
That's the best way to spend those winter nights. That's how I got started. I think it was like
iPhone.
Yeah, it was midnight. I was like, okay, what's there's this app to download. Oh, all right, let's get started. And then I had like 2 months of sub-zero weather to spend my nights playing it. So
Yeah, but you had some warm nights when you was playing against me, weren't there?
yeah.
It was good times then. Good times. Easier times.
Yes. So now what currently, as far as going back to talk about the meta, are you guys running into anything specific, playing anything new? I know I haven't. I've done some practicing with Har, but that's about it for me. I really haven't dived too deep. My card pool for the Orphans is just kind of what I picked up from the event and from like one crate run.
To be honest, I play a lot of Lorga at the moment, and he's super fun. Like, he's not the best warlord for sure, but his buffs have been really, really good, and he's quite decent. Like, not top 100 range, but I think he has a fair chance against most warlords. Like, not Angron, but yeah, you know.
Some just don't have a chance against Angron. Like, that's the issue.
Yeah,
Not to beat it over the head, but
yeah, he's just too slow.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
Like, to build your troops, your demon hosts, and till you have like
I don't
the
have
ability
him, so
to
I'm
trigger
just
a whisper, you are dead
vicariously.
like 3 turns.
I've been fortunate enough to grab every main character legendary from obviously doing career runs and stuff, but I still haven't got complete collections for everything, because what I did was, say, obviously when Ultramarine dropped, I stopped when I got Gulliman, and then when I managed to get a Logger, and then I managed to, I don't even know the new guy's name, I just stopped when I got it to save for the next expansion.
Oh, Olrock? Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, like I said, to be honest, I haven't got full collection yet.
Mhm.
I haven't really tested any of the stuff. I'm just still kind of messing around with Curse and Space Wolves, really.
What Space Wolves are you playing? You're playing Volvi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're all playable, honestly, but Volvi or Geiger, they've got to be pretty good for climbing fast.
Yeah.
Rust, too, if you just want to high roll through it.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Wrath has really high pressure. Like, you can do so much damage, like in turn 4 or 5 if you have some troops on board, and especially with Bloodthirst troops, it's insane. Like, the damage output is
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah.
But you have to do the math. Like, it's really hard sometimes. I sit there and look at my board and have to do the math. Can I do 21 damage this turn?
Yes.
Can I do 25?
I made a chart for myself.
It's
I
so.
made a
Oh, you
chart
did?
for myself, like a
Can you share?
multiplication table where I was like, okay, I had one column for like pack. Right, how many times am I triggering pack, and then another column for whether I should be at strength 3 or even strength 4.
Oh, there you go.
So I could just always I'm like, okay, playing rest, I'm like, all right, quick efficiency reference here, and then I do it. So it become routine after a certain point. You know, I wouldn't need it eventually, where I'm like, okay, so if I attack with 2 troops, you know, like I know that having a strength 3 buff is fine, unless there's some reason for me to be taking a first attack and just have that extra activation. Like I can deal the same amount of damage, but or a little bit more damage, but without taking it right to the dome.
Yeah, and it's situational with, like, how's the legendary, the 4/5, which gets to attack every time pack triggers,
Oh.
heals. It's Bulba, not Bulba.
Yeah,
His
Baelai.
name,
Baelai.
Yeah, Baelai,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, Baelai will end a game very fast.
Oh.
If you can't kill him, right then and there, you're going to get set
Yep.
very, very far behind. You'll
Yep.
be in a world of pain.
And so what you
And
hold
it was a great way to murder Canis as
Oh.
well. My goodness, is it a wonderful way to kill that dog?
Yeah, they can't blast him, and they've got to go
Nope.
into his face, and they've got to take stronger hits every time they do it.
Well, I've faced actually quite a few Canises, even now, and I don't think I've actually lost against one of them this season. And I've always said Smirnoff's going to win. Always Smirnoff. Just keep spamming them. They don't know what to do.
Yeah. There's ways to fight. There's ways to fight the Titan now. Yeah.
But
And he's a little bit more tame,
I like
Well,
what
which is very nice.
with the like it's fallen down a little bit with the health, but I mean it's not. I think they were just dominant because everybody was playing it, and then it shifted out of how you could deal with it. Nobody was running the decks, and then gradually shifted into the troop decks. And I mean, it's a hard game. There are those games, but I've beat Canis with saw like 5 times, and out of the 7 matches I've had with them. It's just the same thing. Like Tarsa, I think, is kind of that next thing. Like, I know there's a lot of complaints because he's new and people still haven't quite tied him out. But I just played one this last night or this morning, and it was literally like a no-brain, like just the basic generic Imperial Army troops that he's putting down. Started out with double Farons, Survivor, and then just like and whittled me down. But I still ended up beating because there was not. I mean, you just pound him in the face. There was not a whole lot of thinking to it. I think. I don't know if people are just relying on, okay, well, this is how this plays, and I should just snowball over everything.
I'm not a fan of. Well, when I go into obviously the Discord and stuff, and I see people immediately reacting, I'm not a fan of instantly nerf and
Right.
This mob mentality of going along and we must do this, and I think you clearly know when something is broken. Let's go back to Magnus release, with changes and lash spam. That was clearly broken.
Yeah.
Garage was clearly broken. I
Those were
I think he should still be how he originally was, but then they rolled him back because people didn't know how to deal with Survivor. It's it was. I'm not a fan of instantly going after something just because I don't understand it.
You have to check it, like how it plays on ladder, how it plays on practice, and I had huge concerns with like the second energy pools the Magnus and his guys had, and it isn't that bad. Like the second energy pool was not the problem; it was like just Magnus, and Ankh was a huge problem.
It could be problematic, and I think the big thing was, just people. If you know what they've got, if they've got 6 Psyker energy, and they're going to have 8, unless you can gamble or you've got something that can withstand, the chance of astral warfare and a defense of satellites, either you call that bluff, or you just hold out and try to go for. I mean, there's ways to play it as opposed to just getting frustrated every time it doesn't go your way.
And they're very RNG heavy. Like you said, Astral Warfare, like 2 to 5 damage. It's like you can't count on it to clear the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same like satellites.
You do have games where it lets you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ankto really raised the reliability though, because you could have, it cost you no lost card advantage to remove a threat, like remove Jubok Starsight, or deal 4 damage to the other Warlord, which is almost always just a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, especially like late game when you can get that and potentially draw it back up because your card pool is so low, and you can deal 8.
That was always the issue towards the end of it. Was when you got down to the last, say, 5-6 cars, because of the precog, and obviously if you've got healers out, and the games were always semi-long with Magnus. It wasn't a quick burn.
Oh, he could see 3 Anktos in a game.
Yeah.
He could, and you expect to see 3 when you're facing Magnus. You accept it. Well, and not so much anymore. It's not as brutal as it used to be. But back then, you could expect to see 3 games.
Yeah, but then when you got towards the end, it was just a race to get to Ankh, and it was just drop, just rinse and repeat. And he was talking per turn, 8 damage. Plus, if you had your whispers, you obviously ping in for another couple. 5 point of shield up as well.
Yeah, maybe Witchfire to throw in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall this set, I mean, as crazy as it is with what the cards do in the Orphans of War, I think between the Word Bears, the Ultramarines, and the Orphans of War, I think it's a lot more balanced. And it's not like, I mean, Demon Host is the newest thing, and Courage, but really they're just kind of combining things that have already existed in different shapes for some variety, and I think it worked out really well.
I was quite disappointed because obviously off the back of Magnus, I was looking for some really, really broken shit to exploit. I really was, don't know. It was all. There's nothing I've come across where I thought that's just madness. You know, you do have a weekend where you get a god hand. You know, where just you get magic coming from everywhere. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but I
We
think
get magic.
as a whole, it's very balanced. I'm so disappointed.
The voices won't have much to complain about for the next 2-3 months. I mean, it'll just be what's not getting played enough, I guess.
Yeah. But I just think because it has been, you know, I think obviously Lorgar, he was very underwhelming. When you saw his stats, you thought, wow, this is amazing. But then you realise he's just so slow. And especially coming off the back of Canis and Magnus and all this, he just wasn't.
You can hopefully count on Gilliman to hate Canis out with endless Scipio bikes and Casas squads.
Right.
But on the same vein, now they've knocked down Magnus, you then start to see the rise of aggro again. Because, you know, 2-3 before Magnus came out, the meta was just pure aggro, you know. But now we've just seen the rise of Sevator and obviously your World Eaters.
I think with the high initiative on Fulgrim and Horus, I mean, Horus decks could pump out the damage and still operate as a decent mid range against an Angron. And you could get like rely on the stealth, the Felisian, and then the Bane Strike rounds.
Yeah, Horus can smoke them out. Just becomes a question of what will get played more.
Right.
There's just not many like directly bad matchups.
No,
per se. You try and play. I think the idea when you're playing ladder is like, because the World Eaters are what they are. They're popular. They're high roll, high damage. They do take. You know, they can get higher. Like they're not. They do require some skill to play. You know, but
you gotta know what
to
order
figure
to
out
play
they are.
things.
So what am I going to play to get around it?
Yeah.
You know, like what's my solution?
But in the end, it's always about how reliable decks are, and Angron is straight up reliable.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's why he's so popular.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where, for me, you know, my favourite faction, or my favourite up to date, was Raven Guard. You know, I found it challenging because it was never an easy match with Korax, because obviously you had Fulgrim Laser Show going on. You know, you had Death Guard, especially Rask. He was always a difficult one. He's kind of like was my first Warlord. Then I managed to pull my first Legendary Warlord, which was Korax, and it kind of got me into the top 50, you know, ladder, being competitive. But it was a hard deck, but it was very rewarding to play. But what I just find is now with World Eaters, whatever, it's just nothing. It's just same cards, same. Do you know what I mean? There's no kind of I can't.
Yeah, the most efficient ones are playing as much high efficiency damage as they can.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to pack as much damage in, and like you can be flavorful and mix it up and play a few more troops if you want. But typically, like if you want to go for high success, like you will just cram it full of tactics.
Yeah, there's
make it a guaranteed void engagement.
There's no reason to put in stuff, you know, that is not gonna like trap or silent death and Angron. It's like, why not just deal 3 extra damage?
Yep, I'll just deal more damage faster, create a bigger difference between us. So even when you do get more energy to play better cards, I'm too far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's how he plays, and that's how he wins.
Yep.
That's how Karn wins too.
Yeah. Well, even Erlen, it's exactly the same.
Yep.
It's just
Erlen.
You never turn around and say, "What a great match that was."
You can have some cool races with Erlen sometimes if you're playing a similar warlord, or if you've got your own little tricks.
Yeah.
I have some fun games with against Erlen with Nassau now. I didn't think I would. I thought it would be like, you know, facing World Eaters, just an uphill struggle and brutal. But I was pleasantly surprised. He makes it this weird kind of cat and mouse. I'm like, are you going to draw your Armor of Mars?
Right.
As long as you don't draw it twice, I can beat you.
That's
Twice might break my back, but I can get through one.
And to be honest, Nassau is like the old Korok Wars. Like, he's really cool.
He's
like,
awesome.
Stealth is, not so good anymore. Like, everyone has like 5 anti-stealth options in his deck. Or
stealth is a lot more common right now.
Yeah,
and anti-stealth is a lot more common.
It's like just solid.
But don't you think they need to probably revisit Valdor as the Captain General? I just can't believe they never put First Strike on him.
With that reckoning now, though, seems like it's, I don't know, I don't have Valder, so I shouldn't say.
It's hard to do his reckoning even still.
I know he's being played at high levels. I don't know how much the reckoning comes into play with it.
Not often.
I get the choice not to give him the First Strike. I do get it. Makes the reckoning kind of flavorful.
Yeah, it's because if you're playing Valdor and you're putting Custodes out at some point, you got to make the choice: do I draw more troops or do I attack to kill something? And A, there's got to be something that you can attack to kill, and B, it depends on who you're facing. Like, you might want those troops if they're so. It's not like, okay, you're definitely going to kill 5 things in the course of a game, because 3 of the times that you would be optimal to kill something, you might prefer or need to pay 2 to draw.
Surely the whole point of this game is to protect your Warlord. This is why I don't agree with his Whispers, full stop. Because it may work on turn 1, may work on turn 2, may work on turn 3. But why would you then deliberately face smash something at turn 4, 5, 6, which you need to go, to the Whispers to some degree?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you would have taken half of your Warlord's health off, if not more, because, turn 4, you're talking a 5/5 card.
Right.
Do you get what I mean? It's either you're playing, your Eagles and stuff, and 1 strike. I can't see why you'd want to hit something face value with your Warlord. Another Warlord. I think maybe his Whispers would have been better with, Custodes cards played, or, Custodes troops played. He would get a Whispers off to then become, the monster he can become. Because you get some Warlords where the Whispers are easy to get, but you get some which are just insanity.
Well, insanity, and then for the reward, like, the reward is awesome, but I think if they changed it, rather than when your Warlord kills an enemy, when you kill an enemy, and they up the cost to like 20, 25, but that allows you to use stuff like Auric Mortalis for mass kill, and not necessarily use him, but you're using your troops to attack, you're using your tactics to do the killing, and then you have the chance to break into a Whispers at a more reasonable clip.
Yeah, but I think Walter's problem is a bit like you have to kill troops, and if enemies don't play them at all, that's a huge issue.
Yeah.
Like, there's the Angron, Erlen, and Khan problem again. Like, they don't play troops, and
you need to be able to rely on, if you can't hide, or if you can't heal for some reason in whatever Warlord you're playing against, Erlen or World Eaters, you need to make sure that you're keeping up on the health difference. Because no matter how slow your deck is, your deck has some reach. It has some ability to deal at least 2 damage coming from your Warlord, plus, let's say 3 to 5 damage from your hand. If you can stay close enough in health and World Eaters, then you can flip the tables, or that you can get them within your reach. Especially if you've got a trick off Abandoned Supplies, or whatever trick from whatever Legion you're playing. But that's the trick. Like, if you don't have healing all the time, you need to conserve your health, or you need to be dealing damage to them. Even if it means blowing some combos that you'd like to save for later, like I can't afford to save Michaela, Cabernis, and the Goldstones, for example, all the time against World Eaters. Especially against guys like Erlen and Karn. Like, sometimes, I just gotta drop it early. I'd love to have it on turn 8 or 9, when I can do disgusting amounts of damage, but I might not get there.
No, and if it draws,
I need it now.
Yeah, and if it draws heat away from your Warlord, that's almost just the second option in terms of, if you don't have the healing, if they're attacking something else and they're not attacking your Warlord, you're giving yourself more time.
Yeah, and I think the concept of applying pressure yourself is better than letting the World Eater pressure you all the time, or which aggro warlord to face, then get like damage every turn, and he can do whatever he wants and has not to think about preserving his own life or something like that. You have to put pressure on them, and people make mistakes if they are pressured.
Yeah, that's true. That's true too.
It's, you know what, it's with obviously every other faction, it's obviously Primarch cards, they seem to get punished with a Whispers, while some of them have a very easy time getting them and getting the Whispers off. Other ones are just nigh on impossible, and I think that needs to be looked at by every guild. But the problem is with the World Eater faction is every warlord, his ability to his 3 cards for his Whispers, it's easy to do. It's the number of Angons you face, whether they suddenly drop a breach on themselves or a crack grenade on themselves, they get the Whispers off, or they've put on Manifest Destiny.
Yeah.
So that gives them a round of
They have a lot of outs.
It's
and their win con is still themselves.
And
it's because I think I spoke to you about it before, LCFR. I think problem we're getting is some of the Primarchs are worse than their faction warlords, and that should never be the case because it's the hardest card to get.
Yeah.
The legendary faction leader should be the best the best card in that faction to be a warlord.
Which warlords do you think about? Like Death Guard?
Death Guard instantly. Yeah. I think Rask, hands down, is the best warlord.
I would say Rask is the best one.
Yeah, for Salamanders, obviously.
I think if there was a way going forward, I think lately this has been what we've been seeing anyways. But if there's a way going forward to design them so that they are the strongest, it probably becomes an easier sort of focus of design for the pool and something to work towards. And then epic warlords and rare warlords have always been able to find their places in the meta. Some more than others, of course. Like some do unfortunately suck, and it sucks that some suck. But almost anything it can be playable, even if the Primarchs were the strongest. I think there'd still be room to play.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've said to you before about running the faction weapons.
Oh yeah.
Every faction.
But some I don't miss for not having like a weapon or a war gear.
I don't think Numian needs either of the hammers.
And I'm not ever looking for a layer sword. I am gonna just be the layer sword.
Yeah, but
as an Iron Warrior, you don't want a Forge Breaker.
Oh god, no, you don't. That's true.
But I think if they introduce every faction has its own faction weapon, but then when it's equipped to the Primarch, they get a +1/+1 or something, or heal 1 when hit, or heal 1 when attacked. Do you know what I mean? Just something.
I don't think they need so much special attention. I just think that if they're honestly, I guess I agree with you in spirit, but I really think that the best way to do it is just make Whispers in general more playable. Whispers are more playable. They don't need to be easy to play. They don't need to be auto wins when you trigger them. But if Primarchs have playable Whispers, it breathes a lot of life, energy, and character into those Primarchs, because it's awesome playing a Primarch and going into your Reckoning form. That's another part of the story you get to experience as well, in addition to what's usually an awesome effect. And having the dead card for the bulk of the game, honestly, is very fair to me. And I like the way they're designed. So yeah, let them have playable Whispers. I like that the last patch gave some life into Primarch Whispers.
Also, I would like to throw in that they started adding kind of Whispers to non-Primarchs as well, like Argel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty cool concept as well. And I would love to see some more of it. Like, I think it's hard to do. Like, Argel and Raum is, it's pretty obvious. But I could see it for other warlords too.
Yeah, well, Latara has one.
Yep, Latara's got one, and then
Latara's got the Ursus Claw.
That
I'm into it.
Zardu Laik in the event, he's got something like that, right? I haven't played him yet, but he's got a a whispery like card that gives 2 demon hosts to a unit.
Cool.
Oh yeah, right.
I like trick cards.
The weapon, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ritual
right.
Blade.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool concept as well. Yeah, I like that. Actually, he's quite decent in the event, I think. Like, he's not Ulrach, but he's good.
He can snowball fast. He's got that adjacent strike flame basically that helps deal with some of the stealth troops that are in the game. And
yeah, and to be honest, all event decks lack anti-stealth.
Oh,
like,
God.
seriously. Like, if I see those damn 5/4 Sentence 2 Raven Guard troop, it's a nightmare.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't know how to remove it, and it's like,
Usually my game plan is just play mine before you,
that's it.
yeah,
or
right.
just create enough mayhem that I can
hope
pull
you
you out
have,
of
like-
stealth.
If you get lucky with an Ebon Drake or something, that's about all you can hope for.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
the
but
gods
it's
love me.
50-50.
I'm always lucky with my Evan Drakes.
I'm keeping quiet on this because I haven't actually played the event yet. I've got a lot of tickets to drop soon.
Are you saving it for after this event?
No, I just haven't had the time.
But
Like I say,
biding your time.
I've only just been grinding my dailies to get where I am, and then, like I say, I'm going to be heading up to work tomorrow, so I can just get more time when I'm at work. What I do.
I'm going to work so I can play Legions.
Right.
Pretty much. Yeah, but now I'll be dropping in a few tickets. I haven't scored anything yet, so.
Yeah, I'm quite behind on my Orphans collection, but I'm doing okay.
I just stopped as soon as I got the top one because all the other legendaries.
You can pick them up in the shop, and the way
Yeah, I have enough gems.
yeah.
Just to change the topic a bit, like when you told us about rewards, like I read from Yuskav on Reddit, like you noticed something like rewards are a bit better now,
That's
and I have the feeling it's true. Like more legendaries. I had, like when I opened my 12 win at like a 10 times 12 win crates, like I had 6 legendaries and 1 U, so 5 duplicates, so was pretty well.
nice. Yeah, I can't confirm it. Although I've looked at the past, like the order that the rewards are ordered within the crate is backwards now. So why would they change that without changing the drop rate? And from what I've encountered, it's like it just the rewards seem to be better, and there seems to be either a word bearer or an Ultramarines or an additional Orphans of War card included half the time. So it's like I don't think it was an announced upgrade, but it looks like technically that the rewards are getting better for players either through the event crate or the daily challenge crate, which I've got 32 minutes before I can open up this one here to see how that goes, if that busts my theory. But
It needed something because after they changed the gold for the economy,
yeah,
it was just
for
Tighten the belt.
what's the point?
yeah.
What's the point?
Like I get the need for it to be okay. Well, we can't have too much bloat for players to just not have to spend money on the game, and that's fine. And I've got enough gems where I'm okay just paying gems for cards in shop and hunting that way. But as a new player coming in, that's hard because the pool is 3 times the size it used to be.
Yeah, that's right. Because you're getting a couple random cards from whatever set too, right?
Yep.
I mean, I wonder how. I guess if you planned your collecting around that, like sometimes that eclectic collecting can be good, but damn, it would be nice if you knew, okay, this is an event I can go hard on, and maybe I can get some extermination cards or some Prospero cards.
Right, and instead you're like, okay, I'm gonna get one Calth card.
You'll get what you got. Yeah.
You know, the question's been raised now for over 6 months. What are they going to do with people's gems? Because I'm sat at 235,000.
Yeah, I'm at 133,000. So.
And it's just like, jeez, I'll just pick up what I need. But
yeah, I'm in the 6 digits as well. I get it.
I did the math, and I that's enough to buy a whole expansion in shop.
I think we said
Really?
in the last
Yeah.
Q&A that they were working on something for it. So
Well, they said that for 3 Q&As. So hopefully,
yeah, I don't know how many of us are in like the insane gem wealth. Like more of the longer players. Like
right.
we're really sitting on hundreds of thousands.
And it's a first world problem.
Not as bad for others because right now you can use it to help you collect factions, but I know that they're working on something for it, so that's just as much as what they've said.
I think Kane's are 500,000. It's like, really?
That's your punishment for being so good.
It's a first world problem, but as in terms of game currency, it's the hardest currency. It should have a constant value. It should never not have a value.
Yeah, you know what? I would quite happily if they did some sort of lodge bank or something, and I could just give them all to the new guys who join. People who need them.
That'd be cool. I would love to just drop off like gem loot bags.
There you go.
Global. That'd be awesome.
LCFR was here. Look, there's loot.
Just take them. They're from the Joker. It doesn't matter. Like that's amazing.
If they had
loot bags for each other.
If they had an in-game tournament system where you would pay X gems to enter, and those went into the prize pool.
Could be cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something to do with them too. I mean, honestly, I'd buy funky cosmetics.
Yeah, and I really hope they remove gems from the free crates. Like,
yes,
it's horrible. If you see you get 4 gems, it's horrible.
I would rather take 8 gold than 4 gems.
I take 1 gold. I take 0 gold over 4 gems.
Yeah, even 18 gems, not doing it for me.
Nope.
Because I'm really OCD when it comes to like the card collections, and it breaks me that I've got all these gems, and I just want to buy the old art or the other, the card backs which you need to pay 10 quid for, or I'd love to be able to just dump all my gems to get a complete set, because it kills me to see having missing cards. Well, that's why I'm always in the top 50, not by choice, just by, because I won't give up having the card back.
You need to have that card back, huh?
I do need to have that card back.
I'm okay not yet. I mean, some of these cosmetics are great looking, but I'll pass on getting them in the shop, because I know that 9 times out of 10 when I get a 12-win run, they're going to be in those win crates. And like, oh, you got a cosmetic. Yeah, that's your legendary.
I just need for every fucking legion, I need a special card back, like the legendary one. And if it's in the shop, I have to buy it. Yeah, you need it for the Primarch.
It's a nice show. I pick up the quotes and the banner. I like getting those.
No,
I just buy whatever I can with my gems.
Yeah,
any and everything I can, even comments. I don't care. I have so many gems. It's just what happens when you've played the game for enough time, and you collect more stuff if you're doing more solid event runs, and that happens after you've been playing for a long time.
Well, you know what else I'd spend?
And then you're just in Gem City.
You know what else I'd spend gems on?
Deck slots.
That's
Jesus
right. I'm looking at a blank page where there could be some deck
man.
slots. Never. We've got 6 new warlords. I don't even have enough room for the Ultramarines on here. I had to delete my Thiel deck to play with Har. I felt dirty afterwards.
I've never actually had the issue of deck slots.
No.
I don't know why.
It's always the same. Like every Q&A, it's like you can counter it. Scuff asking for like 12 more deck slots. Like
delete some
time.
of those old decks, man.
No.
He never does. I believe he has like 80 deck slots or something like that. And
hang on. How many rows? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows of times, so 66.
I only have 2 rows, because as soon as something falls out of favor or gets nerfed, I just delete the deck off.
I just go back and I re-edit it.
Challenge.
There are no more UC.
Challenge.
Never.
Yeah.
I got to organize them by faction, and then they evolve. It's my OCD. That's how I roll it.
Okay. It's the same as me with card backs then.
That's my battle.
It's who we are.
All right. Well, does anybody got anything else to discuss? I think we talked about the World Cup. We've kind of gone over some of the meta stuff with regards to the Primarch changes that they did with Horus and Perturabo and Fulgrim and Ferris Mist. Is there anything you guys think that they missed? We talked about Valdor a little bit. Is there anything else?
Well, Valdor we talked about. That's right. Ferris, I mean, I think I understand the design decision originally why Ferris is low initiative. Like, it's one of those things, like just like Typhon, where if you get a head start, not just setting up a board or just getting an extra activation or the extra energy from going first, being able to heal immediately after as a reaction, or just being able to immediately buff a troop that then sticks against an opponent who's got less energy than you. I can imagine how with less of a card pool that might have been assumed to be oppressive, but the card pool has expanded so much. There's so many playable warlords that Ferris possibly going first in some matchups doesn't let him get so far ahead with the buff that he offers. It doesn't break the game for him to have that, and it definitely makes him stronger. So it's a great buff. It's a great buff because it doesn't break him, makes him better, makes him more playable. Fulgrim and Horus never should have got an initiative nerf in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. Those are like political assassinations. The real culprit was Beast of Fira, using a Bane Strike round.
Yep.
Damn it.
However, Angon used to do it, but nothing happened to him.
Yeah. He can still do it.
Well, easily, because the Bane Strike's actually cheaper with sweeping advance on the ship. Just to leave his comment before when peasants start using it. Just to leave his redact it. But yeah, well, that's the reason. Bloody beasts.
Yeah, it was the beast. And Fulgrim's cool now. I played Fulgrim for a little bit this season. I think you could get him up to the 4400s or 4500s.
I think because he's
like a lot's playable right now. It's just like a lot is playable right now.
I think it's
very cool time.
Yeah. I think it's all play, and that's why I like running into. If I can do a 2-day game session and not run into the same warlord multiple times, it's a nice breath of fresh air.
Yep.
And I think there are so many viable cards in the neutral pool for each legion that you can reach with like half a card pool Terra very easily. Like also for new players, like you start to play 1 month, maybe 2, and you can be in Terra without any big problems at the moment. And that's pretty cool. Like if you're a good player, you reach Terra and you don't need so many cards for it. Like you always find 1 or 2 legions you can build something off. And
once you get rolling with a collection for 1 legion, or you've got a strong warlord with a mostly built legion collection, you can definitely play a competitive deck. Especially right now this season, after Magnus's like chokehold on it. Like this season is like it's very broad. A lot of stuff's getting played. The old like good stuff from the last few seasons is still getting played, but there's room for a lot of stuff. Like I've picked up Custodes out of the blue, and I'm having a great time.
Yeah, how's the name of the Night Lord's Warlord? Like the Apposite carry.
Flame Master, Modrum.
Yeah,
Flame Master.
Yeah, he's actually playable, and I like him a lot. It's fun. Like he's not the best, obviously, but he has his place.
He's got his place. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got good matchups. He's got bad ones, but he can play.
Yeah. So, and that's super cool to see. Like every warlord on the ladder in practice. Like you don't know what to face. Yeah, half of the time it's Angron, but anyways, like every other match is you don't know. You see everything. And in the beginning, I thought Amon would be very, very good and played a lot, but
Thousand Suns Amon.
Yeah.
A lot of people were fearing the sky would fall when he would show up. That it would just be like backbreaking.
The Jew back warlord.
Yeah.
It was brutal sometimes during the event, but I remember the reaction. They were asking the Q&A, and I remember the reaction was we're not too worried. His win rate wasn't that oppressive in the event. And then, of course, he did, and this time he did come out onto the ladder, and he didn't prove to be nearly the equal of Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Probably the second best in the faction, though.
Yeah. No, well, we had this thing with when is it how to pronounce it?
Lucretia?
Lucretia.
Yeah. I said from the very start she was too powerful, but the reason never got used was because Canis was just destroying everybody, and you know, once Canis started dropping off, she became the new thing for a couple of weeks, just because she slipped under the radar for as long as she did, just because obviously Canis was the issue for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I still maintain, I don't want to sound elitist because I'm not at all, but nobody should be able to go buy a Warlord from the shop, from pre-made deck or whatever, and be able to get into the top 10, top 50 in the first week of playing. I completely disagree with that kind of ethos, you know, when we released him.
Yeah, I think it has the feeling of pay to win. I don't think that there was.
Yeah.
With Canis, you mean?
There were some changes when they released, when Canis was released. He wasn't quite as powerful as Event, so it's clear that something went into trying to make sure that he was a little more balanced for ladder, but the end result was that they tried to keep the Titan feel, but he was really still a Titan. You know, like he was very, very strong, and just impossible to get a leg up on. It seems like he still had a strong win rate in the last meta report. He still feels like a Titan when you play him, which is pretty awesome. It's a very unique play experience. And I think his win rate's still going to be really high in the next meta report. It's just that because he's got such super bad matchups, I think it's just going to reduce how popular he is. Some people just aren't going to put up with the bad matchups and tough it out. But I think the people who are playing him will score really high win rates.
I think they've tweaked most people's weapons if they choose to take them. Some sort of, you know, the crack grenades, or you've got...
Oh, yeah.
Eratan is almost like an arm killer by itself.
Yeah, Eratan, Rack and Ruin for Iron Warriors.
Yeah.
They've give something to do, but when he first came out, now I understand Eric's position is they released something and obviously charged money, and they couldn't immediately deal with the issue because you know, you don't want to buy the hand that feeds you, and I understand why there was reluctant for nothing to get done, and you know, I understand it, but for that season there was a lot of angry players, especially coming off the back of Magnus as well.
No, yeah, all the psychic witchery.
Yeah, Prospero was just
they should have playtested it a bit more, and the problems players find loopholes and how to abuse abilities better than designers more often.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
And
the collective brain does know more.
Yep.
It will always know more.
And but they should have expected it to go that way it went, like especially for Magnus and Canis.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty obvious for most people.
Yeah, well, I think Magnus was just
over the top.
Magnus on release was very strong.
I think
Magnus on release was backbreaking.
How can you sit there and say so diplomatically? You know, he was absolutely
he was over the top. No, I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm not trying to downplay it. I was one of the fortunate few as well, because I was actually I was away that weekend and I didn't play during the first weekend. I remember coming back from my vacation and asking people, because I think he just got nerfed on the Sunday after the event, like the first nerf, and I remember asking people, like, was he really like that? You know, like referring to his original iteration, which was like he could give shield to anything,
or deal 1 to 2,
or deal 1 to 2 damage to anything
for free.
Yeah, but
damn.
Even so, at that point, 3 nerfs later, he was still really good.
I think at a certain point they got his ability right. They got the Whispers as this threat right, but there were some cards that like the Ankto cantripping and getting a card replacing it would just keep him ahead right from the early game. it would just keep him so stable and steady right from the early game, and then comboing that with drawing it later a second time or a third time.
And void engagement, and
Yeah, like he had a really well built, like good players played him as well and built really good decks out of him. They just persisted. That happened too.
Was it May, June time? June time he got released? First one was Spaceballs on it, which was May.
Yeah, I think it was August. I think is when either August was Custodes or Thousand Suns. July. Let me go with July.
Right. Because I remember I was like,
no, Thousand Suns was before June.
Was it
before July? Anyways, it must have been June at the latest.
Okay, so it must have been June.
Well,
yeah.
I wasn't really going to invest anything in the Thousand Suns because, as a faction, it never interested me in the hobby and, you know, like in the lore and everything did. But then somebody sent me this screenshot of a potential deck, and I was like, right. He said, have you got Magnus yet? And I said, no, I'm not really thinking. He said, get it. Just spend your gold and get it. And then it was obviously the Lash combo abuse, and it was
Lash
just,
with the Dreadnought as well. And
yes.
Yeah, no, it was the changes, and I just sat there and I just thought, and I think last season I got into the top 10 with it, and I felt so dirty because obviously I was fortunate enough to get him out of a crate or from the event, but no one really had him, and I think that was the issue, was everybody wanted to get some sort of abuse, like obviously Garrett, Vengeance, they all wanted to rag the ass off it. But not many
springtime of Gara this year.
No.
Yeah. So, but no, he was probably the craziest warlord that's been released today, just because he's had, 4 nerfs, 5 nerfs?
Took a lot to slow him down.
Yeah.
Took a lot.
Crazy times.
Well, Scarf, do you think we got it covered?
Yeah, no, I think that's.
I think we have a lot of material right now. 1.5 hour.
An hour and a half is good times and good talking, and appreciate you guys making the time to get on and talk it up. Hopefully, I can get this going. Maybe do something following the first round, or just kind of touch base on where the World Cup is at. Talk to some other players, get some other folks in, because I think it's good to have the conversations. So.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much for the invite, gents.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scuff.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for. I think Terse really suggested the idea, so I'm gonna give the credit to him. I just facilitated.
Okay. If you cut the video right now, Still Toad is asking if you are free to play for the World Cup right now.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta make dinner, but I can play. Is it Virgil?
Yeah, that's Virgil.
Okay, excellent.
He is